5-0 final.
So deadpan, huh? Ned Yost had this to say after the game, feeling happy about taking the first one, but a little cautious.
It's nice against a team like that and the way that Eddie was throwing. But even though you have, a 2 or 3 run cushion, that club's, has the ability to put 2 or 3 runs up on the board in a heartbeat. So you're never comfortable.
Game 2 set to get underway in just a few minutes in KC. Yordano Ventura on the mound for the Royals versus Cy Young winner David Price for the Blue Jays. Cubs and the Mets, that's tonight. First pitch at 8:07 Eastern. John Lester in for Chicago. For the Mets, they put in Matt Harvey on the mound. Let's fly to college football and get you up to date. Toledo pounding Eastern Michigan with 11 to go in the game. 56-13. Iowa leading Northwestern. What happened? Northwestern 33-10 with 10 to go in that game. It's Baylor, the Bears, all over West Virginia, 48-24. The whole fourth quarter to go in the game. Memphis on top of Ole Miss, 31-24. That's with 12 and change left. Winding down, Florida State with a big lead over Louisville, 34-21. Everett Golson for the Seminoles with 334 yards on the day and 2 touchdowns. Boy, monster yards. Kate Delaney, NBC Sports Radio.
This is KCAA.
So, you've moved and you've got a lot of things you don't need anymore. Where are you going to turn? Nope, not them. But a new, cool, and innovative way to sell your unwanted stuff online waiting for you at buysellmakeoffer.com. Buy, Sell, Make Offer is exactly what you do. There are positively no fees whatsoever, but there are 4 different monthly memberships to choose from. Skype is available with each. So cool.
Yep.
And there's a 60-day free trial membership to launch your very own store online. BuySellMakeOffer.com could be the next big thing.
Oh, yeah!
Good news is it's already here. Sign up today. Go to BuySellMakeOffer.com right now and see what the buzz is all about.
As the owner of my business, I wear a lot of hats. I'm accounting, sales, and so much more. But I don't know marketing.
Let Dex Media be your marketing department. Our team can create a digital plan for you with everything from search to social. Contact Dex Media, that's DEX Media, to get found, get chosen, and get talked about.
Whoa, that's a job for cleanup, which would be me.
Call 844-230-3436 or visit dexmedia.com today.
Kcaa.
We found the problem with your car.
And
Turns out the carburetor differential modulator is out.
what?
And while we were digging around in there, this thing fell off.
Stop. There's no automotive repair nightmares at Diego Martinez's 5-Star Automotive in San Bernardino. 5-Star Automotive, where you'll get a great experience, and home of the $15.99 oil change. That's right, just $15.99. They specialize in transmissions, brake repair, AC, and many other repairs, all with a lifetime warranty on parts and labor. Diego knows when your auto needs 5-star attention, it's never convenient. He offers a 12-month interest-free auto repair loan on major auto repairs with no money down. He'll even throw in free towing and a 10% discount for his neighbors in the 909 who work for the city and county of San Bernardino. Call 909-387-0770. That's 387-0770. Your neighbors at 909 West 2nd Street in San Bernardino.
Southern California's Inland Talk Express is KCAA News Talk 1050.
Welcome to I'm Mad as Hell with Lloyd Brock and Greg Simpson. Now, if you want to share your anger, this is the station, KCAA, every Saturday at 12 noon. If you're mad as hell at the government, politicians, IRS, your bank, a car dealer, or the court system, let us know. You may want to be one of our in-studio guests, or just call in and vent that anger. 1-888-909-1050 or 909-888-5222 locally. We may not be able to resolve your individual problems, but we will give you a forum to share your anger with our listeners. Now, join us at KCAA 1050 AM and at kcaaradio.com, or check us out at Ustream. Now, here's Lloyd and Greg.
Mad as hell again.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
The old grump there.
Yeah.
What are you mad about this week?
Well, just read the newspapers and watch TV. I mean, there's a lot to be mad at, but mostly Congress.
You're mad at Congress,
Well,
huh?
yeah, they promise to do things, and they're not doing anything. It's just a stalemate. A lot of things. And what are you mad as hell about?
I'm mad as hell about the same thing.
Well, we've got a gentleman here in the studio today that may have an answer for a lot of these things.
Wow.
Welcome to the studio, Dr. Paul Chabal.
Sir, pleasure to be with you all today. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And I mispronounce your name, and I know it all the time.
Chabot.
Chabot, yeah. And we appreciate this. And I know that you ran last year against Pete Aguilar, who's our current congressman.
Right.
And this coming year, you're also going to be on the ballot.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the people that I've talked to wanted to know what your stand is on a lot of different things. But what are you mad as hell about?
You know, I think we all share the same sentiment that America's going down the wrong path, not only domestically but internationally. People are fed up with politicians. My position is if you can't run an honest campaign, you're not going to be an honest member of Congress, or for that sense, representing the American people. Congress has one of the lowest approval ratings. People don't trust politicians. They're very worried about corruption in politics today. And that plays true in our county of San Bernardino, unfortunately, where we have had an unsullied reputation of corruption. And we see how today big money influences major decisions. And the people are fed up. And I'll tell you what, that kickoff song for this program today, Twisted Sister, I'm not going to take it. Look, I can relate to that. I think we all can relate to it. Not just my generation and your generation, but the country as a whole. I had a chance to watch the Democrat debate last week, and I was shocked at how far left the Democrat Party in the U.S. has gone today. Look, I was raised by a Blue Dog Democrat. My grandmother spent 30 years working in the Pittsburgh steel mills, was dependent on Social Security and her small pension. She would look at the Democrat Party today and go, "You are not the party that I was a part of." I tell people, listen to the JFK inauguration speech and Barack Obama's. Night and day difference. What we see today is a far left pull by true socialists. And so there's an opportunity for people like myself, men and women who represent the middle class, working families, a strong America, to get back in there and fix this great nation, restore American hope and dignity, not only at home but abroad.
Yeah, but I think the people have to be knowledgeable about what's happening, and many times that's not the case. I've got relatives that vote a straight Democratic ticket regardless of who's on there. And I said, don't you realize that so-and-so did this and that? I don't care. I can't go against my party. I mean, that blind obedience to,
sure.
You know, and they just stamp it. And then you see the news media go out there and question people about what's happening. They have no idea. They don't know who their congressman is, and many times they don't know who the vice president is. I mean, and these people vote.
Sure. Well, I think we're starting to see a chink in the Democrat armor. We've had a number of Democrats in this district, prominent Democrats, turn around and say, "Paul, we're supporting your race. We believe in you." And it's not so much because of Paul might be a nice guy, but it's because of principled positions. If you look at just a decade ago, or a little longer than that, in Congress, there was a late-term abortion bill that came up, late term, and all Democrats, everybody stood united with the Republicans in saying that this kind of a bill is wrong. But today in the Democrat Party, you have the complete opposite, including my opponent, who will allow a baby basically to be born from an abortion and deny medical treatment to save that baby's life. That is just asinine. When the majority of the American public is against this Iran deal, and you have the Democrats, including my opponent, neglecting and ignoring the views of not only the constituents here, but common sense supporting the Iran deal. These are extreme views, out of step with the American public, and makes our nation more dangerous.
And just yesterday, Iran showed their ballistic missiles and their testing.
Yes.
So they've already broken the deal.
So here's the thing. It's not as if these members of Congress didn't already know this. My opponent serves on the Armed Services Committee. He's never served a day in the military, by the way. I have no idea how he got on that committee. But for him to hear the intel reports that he hears, to know what we know in the open source media, is just a blatant disregard for public safety. He is dangerous. He is dangerous in Congress, and he is dangerous representing the good people of the Inland Empire. We cannot continue down this path. Look, I've got 4 kids. And what this president has done by completely withdrawing from the Middle East, when we won in Iraq after the surge to wave the white flag, ISIS in 16 countries, Russia now through the Ukraine, Russia into Syria, you now have China going into Syria, you have Cuba now sending their armed forces into Syria to arm the T-80 Russian tanks. Look, the world is a much more dangerous place when you have radical principles and radical members in Congress and a radical president leading this nation.
Well, I agree with you. I read your background, and I think it's very impressive. And I think you know much more than our current congressman.
Well, I think most people in this district know much more. It's real life experience. You don't have to have military experience. You just have to have real world practical experience. Be a middle class family person today trying to survive. The economic recovery has not necessarily helped the Inland Empire. We're not quite there. Many people here are working 2 to 3 jobs. We have very liberal policies like AB 109 and Proposition 47, which is increasing crime. I heard over 120% with property crimes here in San Bernardino. Look, this may be a Democrat-leaning city, but the people here have conservative values. They don't want to see the outright crime, the blight, the loss of jobs, the consistent high number of people that are dependent on welfare. That's not the American dream.
Greg, you were talking about...
Yeah, I was going to ask a question, Paul, on gun control. What's your stand? Hillary Clinton, wants more gun control with more background checks and suggested that gun manufacturers be sued. What is your stand on gun control?
I keep looking at what's going on today. I'm just shocked. For some reason, the progressives in this country have their head in the sand. They can't grasp the fact that the city where they have some of the most significant gun violence, like in Chicago and Washington, D.C. and others, is where they have some of the most strictest gun control laws in the country. Look, I'm a law-abiding citizen, a proud gun-carrying member, law enforcement 20 years, military 14 years. They need to get at the root cause of this issue. The root cause is taking guns out of the hands of criminals, not law-abiding citizens.
Well, and these people... Most of the crimes are committed with stolen weapons.
Yep.
And the one in San Francisco where we had the illegal shot that girl, that was stolen from a federal agent's car.
Right.
And just recently, those 3 teenagers they arrested, they stole another gun at Fisherman's Wharf.
Yep.
And killed 2 people. Now, see, no amount of background checks are going to solve that problem because if they steal a gun from you, you've passed that background check. And everything else.
Right.
And why blame the gun manufacturers? It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. That's right.
It's absurd. Let me add on to that, just because there's other things boiling, which is causing this problem here in our great state of California. The state of California increased the amount that a crook can steal, which would have qualified for a felony just a year ago, now is a misdemeanor. It used to be under basically $500 of property you stole. Now, the amount to make it a felony to steal property, it has to be valued at over $950. So what does that mean here in California? Most guns are valued at under $950, which makes the theft of a gun a misdemeanor. So now what we see here in California is a huge increase in property crimes, auto crimes, all these crimes. But the crooks are smart. They know if they keep that dollar amount under $950, it's going to be a misdemeanor. How many days are they going to serve in jail today? If any?
Yeah.
Maybe 3. So here's the thing. A crook first somebody's got to call the police. The cops got to get there on time. The crook's probably going to run. They got to get caught. They got to go to a DA who's going to file the case. They're going to look at it going, it's a misdemeanor. Now, how did this happen? I guarantee you, my view of conservatism and pro-family values did not push that. It was the progressives in California. They are making our inner cities more dangerous. They are causing our kids to live in less safe environments, and they are empowering criminals in our state of California, especially here in the Inland Empire.
Well, I have friends that are in the police force, and they're very disgruntled about. He said, I arrest a guy today, and he's walking the streets tomorrow. And
Absolutely.
He said, unbelievable. He said, and letting people out of jail because of a drug charge. But, they're the most violent people around. You just haven't caught them,
Most crime is drug related. And so here's the kicker. We obviously would love to get people help and treatment. But what people don't understand is that we have laws here in California that have neutered and gutted good drug treatment programs, like what's called the National Association of Drug Court Professionals Drug Court Program. It used to mandate in California that for minor possession, you went through a year of mandatory efforts to clean up your life, get a job, go through counseling, one of the most successful programs. But the liberals here in California gutted that program. There's no more carrot and stick. Therefore, somebody who has a drug conviction, on paper, certainly they're going to go get help, quote unquote, but it helps not there. They don't have to do it. And so why is somebody going to go somewhere? And it's so common, hey, Mad as Hell, great name for your program. This should make every voter in the state of California mad as hell.
Yes. Damn right. But anyway, they've got these same people. There's a lot of politicians out there that want to restore the voting rights to criminals. And I think that's, they gave up that when they committed this felony.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a very cynical view of today's progressives on how they elect people and what they're trying to do. Look, I ran in a race where we were outspent 8-1 millions of dollars, where the Democrat Party ran absolutely negative ads that were untrue. Look, they put my opponent put my face up next to a terrorist and told the voters that Paul's going to give guns to terrorists. And here I am, a law enforcement military veteran, the audacity of what they do. The system is corrupt. It's broken. We need to challenge it consistently, and we need to outvote people who run dishonest campaigns.
And if you object to that, they say, oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't my fault. Somebody else did it.
Well, somebody else did it, yeah.
Yeah, shame on them.
Yeah.
But I had a question here about yesterday. There was a former attorney general who was Gates came on. I guess it was Thursday, and he said the Obama administration has a total distrust of the military. And you being military, I think that's true. And you see, they don't trust the generals that were running things in Afghanistan, and now they say, well. Obama came back and says we're going to put 5,500 troops there beyond 2016. And that is just a drop in the bucket. It's like Custer's last stand.
Yeah.
They could overtake us in a New York second.
Yep. So here's a critical thing. Let me take off my military hat and just speak to you as just an American. And what the hell is going on in our country? Think about this. So the Middle East, this president, first off, I have said since 2008 is a coward. And this Russian president has said so much the same week. He is afraid. He is afraid of conflict. He is afraid of evil. And when you don't challenge evil, it will grow. Here's the reality of 5,000 troops in Afghanistan. It's not going to do much. Why? When you have 5,000 troops, they're spread thin. Most of those troops' primary role and responsibility is going to be what's called force protection. Meaning they're protecting the bases and the allocations where they are. Then you're going to have intel support. He's just checking the box. So under his presidency, Afghanistan doesn't fall in the same way that Iraq does.
Did, yeah.
But it will. At this onset, we now have ISIS infiltrating to Afghanistan. Look, I try to be as positive as I can, and I like to be an optimist. But we got to be real here. The future of this country is in dire straits. My 4 young kids are almost guaranteed to now go fight enemies that we should have fought and defeated during my time. And that in itself is just disgraceful.
It is.
I have a question. Your biography is really impressive. You have an impressive biography. And my question to you is, how are you going to manage all these commitments and organizations that you do and still run for Congress?
That is the challenge. It is exhausting. I mean, as you know, so I teach at Cal Baptist University. I teach American government. I love it. Reservist in the military, reserve peace officer. I run my own small business doing counterterrorism consulting. I have a PI license here in California. Running anti-drug coalitions and love that. But that keeps me in the community. I mean, that allows me to talk to all different demographics across this region.
Yeah, and I want to advise people, if you get a chance, get a hold of his book.
Yeah.
It's The Eternal Battle Against Evil. And this is really a great book. It's a comprehensive strategy to fight terrorists, drug cartels, pirates, gangs, and organized crime. And Paul knows all about that. So I advise you to get a hold of this. Where can they get a hold of it?
Pretty much anywhere online. Barnes & Noble, Amazon has it, and I'm sure a number of other book sellers as well.
Okay, it says, caution, details may be disturbing to some readers.
Yeah, definitely not a bedtime book for the kids.
Okay.
And here again, President Obama said, when he was asked how we can win the war, against ISIS, which he insists on calling it ISIL.
ISIL, yeah.
And
is there a reason for that? They call it ISIL?
Well, yeah. Well, you got to read the definition between the two, and then go online, and you can see why.
Okay.
But he says we can win the war against ISIL with the community of nations. And I said, wait a minute. I said, I never heard of that.
Wow.
What in the world? I said, if he's talking about the United Nations, they've never done anything. They're a peacekeeping deal, supposedly. But, I mean, most of them hate us.
It's asinine. So here's my message back to President Barack Obama. Why don't you take your amazing organizing skills out of Chicago and go to Iraq and go try to organize some communities there. A message to this president. When we were in Iraq, the surge that Senator McCain and others supported, that you voted against, by the way, that worked. We decimated Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda squeezed to the northern town of Mosul, flooded, bankrupt, out of money. We won in Iraq. When you pulled out our troops, you waved the white flag and you lost that war. And all the men and women, all of our troops that died as a result of that are on your hands. You disgraced our military. Many of our brave men and women have left the service, our admirals and generals, with tremendous knowledge. And this country today is just trying to survive and hold on until your presidency is over, which is why, even though my congressional race I think is important and critical for the Inland Empire and getting somebody in Congress who understands the evils that we face, more so, we need a president. We need another Ronald Reagan type president to come in 2016 and right this ship.
Yep.
I agree with you, totally.
And it's, we had, and there's another question here. I wrote an email to Pete Aguilar about voting no on the Iranian nuclear deal, and I also wrote Feinstein and Boxer. Feinstein wrote back and says, I'm going to vote yes because it's good for the American people. In other words, regardless of what the nation wants, I'm going to take it out of their hands because they're too stupid to make the right decision.
Yeah.
And Pete did the same thing. He voted for it.
Yeah, well, Pete doesn't have a choice. He works for Nancy Pelosi. When Nancy Pelosi tells him to jump, he's going to say, how high? When you look at his FEC financial reporting, you look at the J Street and the other far leftist PACs that support this deal, he does not have the courage, A, to stand up, or B, the knowledge to truly understand the threats that we face.
Well,
it's...
That's sad.
Well, I mean, what would you do differently as far as, how are you going to listen to your constituency and then say, hey, my people don't want this.
Yep.
Therefore, regardless
how do you do that?
Great question. Here's what he needs to do that he has not done that other members of Congress do. Since he's been in office, he has not held a single town hall here in this district. And I'll tell you why. He's afraid. He's afraid of what the people are really going to tell him. He doesn't want to see that kind of outpouring in the media from people disgusted with his positions. I call on Pete Aguilar to have a town hall with the residents of this district and hear from them because they are not happy.
That's true. And I live in Redlands, but they didn't vote for him. The
people that know him best said no to Pete Aguilar.
And he was our mayor.
He was your mayor. He lost that city by 8 points.
Yeah.
He lost my city of Rancho Cucamonga by 4 points. And we only have a 3% GOP voter registration advantage. We do cross all boundaries, Democrats, independents. Everybody's fed up today.
A question. You had a debate with Pete at his alma mater, which is the University of Redlands last year. And I noticed in your 3 degrees are from Cal State San Bernardino. How about a fair debate next year at Cal State San Bernardino?
Yeah, well, here, I'll give you a little. I'd love a debate out on our side. I mean, look, I don't mind going right into Pete's backyard because even though it was his backyard, I think,
Well, I was there, but it was standing room only. Yeah. A lot of the alumni were there. They supported him. And same thing, I went to Cal State for my master's degree. Right. And, why not go to your place?
Yeah, that's right.
You got your bachelor's there, but
here's the backstory on that, and this is probably the first time you've heard it. The San Bernardino County Sun and the Daily Bulletin did an endorsement interview with myself and Pete Aguilar. And here's what the public doesn't know, and they'll know today, is in that endorsement interview, the board was split between Aguilar and myself for an endorsement. One of the apparent vice presidents of the newspaper came in, and rather than the paper saying, you know what, we're going to stay neutral on this race, a vice president walked into that room and said, well, let's go with the person that has elected, who's been a politician. And that's the only reason Pete Aguilar received the endorsement of the Sun and the Bulletin, and the Redlands Daily Fax is a sister paper of those, picked up that identical endorsement. And that entire debate was led and arranged by the newspapers out here in this region. And I'll tell you what, I've talked to a leader on that editorial board and told them how frustrated I was. I learned about this at the debate. I told them that this was inappropriate, and they said, well, we don't want to talk about this right now.
Yeah, well, I saw where the Republican Party wasn't in support of you last year because of, they wanted somebody else to be in there, of course.
Sure.
Miller wasn't, he endorsed somebody to follow him, and then you came up and beat her.
It was a fascinating cycle. Look, I'm not an establishment pick by any means. I'm a conservative American. I do what's right. I just, follow my path. I'm going to stay on that. We were not endorsed by the local Republican Party in 2014. And look, in fairness to Gary Miller, although he did support his staff, he, for the most part, I think stayed out of the primary, which I think was a nice gesture in that sense. We ended up winning that primary by 10 points, despite being outspent 11-1. Aguilar, who lost for Congress in 2012, barely, by only 209 votes, squeaked into second place. Mm-hmm. And after we won the primary, we anticipated that the National Party was going to come in and help us win a seat that the Democrats identified as their number one national target. Mm. They, again, ignored California, ignored this district, and I think they've learned a valuable lesson because we lost by just 3 points, although winning on Election Day, outspent 8-1, winning 5 of the 9 cities, despite an onslaught of 27 negative mailers, 12 weeks of negative commercials, and special help with Clinton and Biden into the area, helping my opponent. And the story for 2016 is, if the Republicans want to win on values and integrity and honesty, come in and fight for this district. It's the number one pickup in the country, and now they're going to help, I think, defeat Aguilar in 2016.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, but this is, as they say, an incumbent always has an advantage.
Sure.
And
he'll have an advantage with raising money, absolutely.
Yeah. Confidentiality on committees is very important. And, I noticed that Terry Gowdy on this Benghazi thing.
That was good.
He said there's several people that leaked information. He thought the Democrats were with him on this thing, but then they leaked information to the press, and he said, where's the loyalty? The confidentiality of the committee should stay there, just like everything that happens in Vegas stays there.
In Vegas, sure.
But it should stay in that committee. Right. And, they kind of stab you in the back. So, you've got to be integrity. Oh, we've got a commercial coming up in a few minutes and a break. But think about that.
Yeah, I think it's concerning. I think that regardless of person, position, power, that our elected officials have a role and responsibility to hold people accountable regardless of their political affiliation. If we can't do that, then how in the heck can we expect the public to trust us? We should not be surprised the public has such a low approval rating for elected officials, and they feel one of their number one concerns right now is political corruption.
That's true.
Should be.
And we'll come back in just a few minutes.
I got a question when we come back, too.
You do? I've got several.
I-
We need people to call in, too, so we welcome your calls.
Listening to KCAA Loma Linda at 106.5 FM, K293CF Moreno Valley.
Do you like craft beer from microbreweries? Well, I'd like to tell you about Oak Hills Brewing Company in Hesperia. All of their beers are brewed on site from the very best ingredients. Yummy, yummy. Typically, they have between 12 to 14 beers on tap at any given time. And backed by popular demand, Mango Orange Wheat Beer. A delightfully flavored beer with orange and mango juice. It's a little light citrusy beer with a tropical twist. You can also check into some heavier beers, Grapefruit IPA and the Belgium Triple Redemption. You can also bring the kids. Oak Hills Brewing Company offers 3 crafted sodas, yummy root beer, zesty ginger ale, and cream soda. The kids will love them. You can also visit the tasting room and take the behind-the-scenes brewery tour. Oak Hills Brewing Company in Hesperia. They're open 3 days a week, Thursday from 3 to 9, and Friday and Saturday from 1 till 10. Go up right after you hear the show. For more information, go to their website. It's oakhillsbrewingco.com. oakhillsbrewingco.com. You'll find a map with directions and a list of all their beers. To find the best craft beer in Southern California, just remember Oak Hills Brewing Company in Hesperia. Take the 15 up to the 395, pass 2 signals, and turn right on Poplar. Oak Hills Brewing Company, Hesperia.
Welcome back to Mad as Hell.
Yes, we are. We're still mad.
Still mad.
Welcome back. We've got Paul Chabot with us. He's running for the 31st Congressional District next year against Pete Aguilar. And as I say, you've got a lot of good ideas.
Yes, he does.
What was the story behind the book?
So the book, and by the way, if people want to get a quick snapshot of the book, my website, it's just voteforavet.com. And I believe they can also look at the book and view a quick infomercial on it, I'll call it infomercial, at battleevil.com. So the book, I spent about 10 years working on a dissertation on how to combat drug cartels, the Arellano Felix drug trafficking organization, which, as you may recall, in the 1980s, there was a DEA agent in Mexico named Kcaa Camarena.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Kcaa Camarena was tortured. He was killed by what then and still today exists, a very powerful drug cartel organization. But because of his death, we now have what's called Red Ribbon Week, which we're celebrating here at the end of October, and our anti-drug coalition in California and locally will be heavily involved in that. So it's in remembrance of Kcaa Camarena, but it's also to help kids get off drugs. So I wrote this dissertation initially on focus how to dismantle drug cartels. When I went to Iraq, I then had an opportunity to author a strategy, not the strategy, but a strategy on how to better dismantle Al-Qaeda or terror networks. So I came home from Iraq and wrote this book called Eternal Battle Against Evil. And the research here basically says that no matter what we are facing, if it's ISIS, Al-Qaeda, drug cartels, organized crime, sophisticated prison gangs, or pirates, they all share a similar makeup. They, I kid you not, look like Fortune 500 companies. When you look at their boards and their vice presidents, if you will, their emirs, and it's very remarkable on how they compartmentalize their operations, how successful they are. So what this book says is, unfortunately, we're never going to defeat evil. That's God's job.
That's God's job.
That's God's job. But we here on earth, certainly don't need to sit in the shadows and allow it to continue to thrive. We need to push back and fight for humanity while we're here. So what we need to do is better focus our assets on the enemy's 14 resiliency characteristics to continue to diminish. Look, that's exactly what the United States and our coalition forces did during the surge. Focused in on the money and other aspects to shrink Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was bankrupt, could no longer pay their foreign fighters $180 a month to fight. When the foreign fighters weren't getting a paycheck, where'd they go? Back home.
Back home.
These guys don't fight for an ideology, they fight for a paycheck. Same with ISIS. Their number one cash crop today is oil. Their number two is kidnapping and ransom. Same with cartels. So there is a plan here, and that's the 2-minute rundown of the book.
Well, you're telling me they run by money. You're telling me everything runs by money.
Absolutely.
Well, and you know, money buys a lot of high-powered people,
Sure.
and that cover up a lot of evil.
Yeah, okay.
It does, and it plays its way into politics in this country.
Oh, yeah.
We look at politicians, whether the incidences we've had here in San Bernardino County, the city of Kcaa, Fountain Valley, the last 3 governors of Illinois. Money corrupts politicians, and this problem is growing here in the United States. We look at Mexico today. The problem with Mexico is most of their politicians, or local cops, judges, are on the take from political bribes. If we allow that kind of money to continue to infiltrate United States politics, we will degrade the very system that we have.
Well, we have. I was just the other day. They had Emmanuel from the mayor of Chicago come out, and he blames the police now for the killings, and they had 60 of them last month. You know, and Obama should have been there instead of Oregon.
Oregon, of course.
But, you know, he won't go there. And they have the strictest laws in the country.
Against guns.
Yeah, and most of those are stolen weapons
Sure.
that killed 60 individuals.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, the police are to blame. We don't.
Oh, yeah,
They're
of
broke,
course.
for one thing. They can't, and they want to hire more police, and they can't do it. And he said they're dragging their feet. They don't want to be sued.
Yeah, blame.
I'll tell you, the cops today, we participated in a rally in Redlands last week. It was All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. And I was shocked to see the Democrat debate when they fail to state that all lives matter. All lives do matter in this country, and that is critical. And our law enforcement today, year over year from 2014 now, have a 15% higher death rate. The attacks on violence, the criticism that our law enforcement gets. Look, if that thin blue line crumbles, then we have nothing left in a society. Anarchy takes over. But here's what else is happening in our law enforcement community. Not only are we losing good cops who are saying, like you, I'm mad as hell, fed up, I can't get the department or the community no longer to support me based on the progressive radicals out there that are marching against us. But here's what else. Here's the other big problem. We can't even recruit good candidates anymore. Okay. It is very difficult for law enforcement agencies across the board to be able to find good quality candidates, and that in itself is a major problem going forward for public safety.
Sure.
You had another question?
Yeah, I had a question. And again, Hillary Clinton again comes to on her email scandal. You know, the Republicans, some believe the Republicans are making a mountain out of a molehill, and others are comparing this to the General Petraeus scandal. What's your take on that? What's your read on this email scandal?
Well, General Petraeus, an American hero,
absolutely,
who did amazing things when I was there in Iraq, was indicted, and Hillary Clinton is not.
She's skating.
So far.
Yeah.
And they have politicized this process. I think there's fault on the Republican Party as well for some comments that they've made about this investigation that have infuriated the good people like Trey Gowdy and others who are doing the damnedest to have a fair, impartial process where we know the Democrats in that committee can't even keep their mouths shut and are out there divulging information that should be kept internal for now. So, look, in all fairness, we are all innocent until proven guilty. However, how the progressives have politicized this and the poor messaging by some on the Republican Party with this, I think, have taken away from the core issue. There is an active investigation going on, and that if these allegations stand true, they are major violations of federal law.
Yeah. How would you go about keeping terrorists out? We're supposed to be taking in, 70,000 now of the Syrian refugees, so to speak.
Sure.
But, there's some sleeper cells out there, and they said a lot of them are young men, not that many women, and they're capable of fighting.
Yep.
And there's going to sneak into this country, and we've got to screen them properly. We had a gentleman here from Syria. Was it? And he said, I said, we need people like you to screen some of these people out, because he said he could recognize the terrorists, those people and ask them questions. So we need a bunch of those people.
Yep. So a few critical points. The FBI director has said they have active investigations against terror networks or terror cells or sleeper cells, whatever you want to call it, in all 50 states already. That's a big deal. Number two, if a child can walk across our open border, then so can a terrorist. We need to get serious about border security.
Sure.
Three, because we have no real international respect today amongst our allies and our enemies don't fear us, you would think that an American president could say to the Middle East, you need to house these refugees which are coming from your land. Saudi Arabia, you've got 100,000 tents with air conditioning lined up in your deserts already. Why are you not stepping up? Look, what I would do in Congress is to say that certainly the United States has a role and responsibility, the Geneva Convention, etc., to help refugees, the women and children. But we should be providing, not right now, ability to come to the States. What we should be doing is providing transport, helping provide transport from Europe to Saudi Arabia and other countries for the refugee crisis. But look, the refugee crisis exists because of this president. This president, Barack Obama, put an imaginary red line in the sand that was walked over, had an inept policy in the Middle East, and he has created the problem that we now have to try to fix somehow.
Yeah, well, and just yesterday he was blaming Israel for a lot of the problems that terrorists, the Palestinians are coming over there and knifing their people. They're coming across the border,
poor Israel,
invading Israel, and he says, well, you've got to stop this. And they should. He didn't call it right. Period.
No. So here's basically what our president did. He said to the Israelis that, well, both of you are at fault. The people who are stabbing you and then you who are fighting back. That's like telling the victim of a crime, well, you're both at fault. The attacker attacked you and you were fighting back, defending yourself. You both really need to cool off. No, you don't. Yeah. Where does that mentality come from?
I don't know where it comes from.
I think there are some significant mental lapses, to say it lightly, in this president and his followers. It is frightening.
Well, he's anti-Israel. We know that. And if you leave them alone long enough that they feel threatened, they have the capability of taking out
large
a lot
of ISIS and others. Yeah.
Hey, look, Israel is our most staunchest ally in the Middle East. They are surrounded by people who want to decimate them.
Sure.
You've got Iran, who again has chanted death to Israel, death to America. They blew up a mock U.S. carrier in the Persian Gulf 6 months ago, third most active at testing ballistic missiles. They're now going to receive $150 billion with a B, $billion in cash.
To go against us. I mean, basically,
they're going to continue their radical ideology. They're going to continue to advance and work with Russia. They're going to buy weaponry from Russia. You're going to have China, and they're expanding. And for the life of me, it just does it. It's like a nightmare is happening in this country. And
it is a nightmare.
To say that there is an easy fix going forward, this president has dug us into a major hole, and there is no easy way out right now.
Well, is there a way out, though, Paul? I think that's a fair question.
Yeah, I think there is, and I think it is ultimately dependent on us accepting the fact that nothing really is going to improve under this president.
Okay,
we've got to survive the next 13, 14 months. We've got to survive. At the same time, this nation has got to, and I don't have a horse in this race just yet, has got to elect a president. Like a Ronald Reagan, who changed it from the Carter weakness to the Reagan strength, where our enemies fear us again, into that new frame of American exceptionalism, and a lot of work to be done.
Do you have any favorite candidates?
I've got a lot of favorite candidates in the race.
You got to boil them down.
I like a lot of each of them. I'm a conservative Christian pro-life family guy, and most of these candidates are speaking that particular language. I worked for Carly Fiorina as her statewide veterans coordinator, rallying vets in 2010. So I like her approach. I think she'd be tremendous against a Hillary in the debate. I think so like Ben Carson's faith. I like Donald Trump's audacity to challenge the media as he's doing. And
he stirred up the pot, that's for sure.
He did. I like, Ted Cruz understands the constitutional value and integrity of this nation and how important that is. I mean, I could go on and on. I think that what's remarkable is we have the most diverse members up there running for president, and the Democrats, no offense, but are the crusty old white folks over 60, no diversity. Just so I mean, we talk about what the Democrats say they represent, but you look at who's up there. They're old ideas, scary ideas. I will say, hats off to Democrat Webb up there on stage. I think he was.
You got a call.
Yeah, I think he was the most, least of the crazy talk up there with Webb.
Okay, we got a break for a commercial. We'll be right back.
Use the power of the sun and save money on your utility bills. Solar power has saved many residents as much as 75% on their utility bills. But finding a good contractor can be very difficult. Look no further. Euclid Energy Performance Contractors is a family-based business in Upland. They not only do solar panels, they also do windows, insulation, heating and air conditioning, and also custom remodeling. Remember this number, 909-285-4406 for a free energy evaluation, 909-285-4406, or check out their website at www.eepcontractors.com. Euclid Energy Contractors guarantee all their work and products, eepcontractors.com. Is it that time? Your car needs a smog check? Well, check out Quick Smog Check in Montclair. They guarantee your vehicle will pass or you pay not a thing. That's right. If it doesn't pass the test, what the heck? You don't have to pay. So what's the reason why you're not calling them? The number 909-626-5436. You can also drive right down there now. 5438 Holt Boulevard in Montclair. They're open 9 to 5, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Do it now. No wait smog checks at Quick Smog Check in Montclair. 909-626-5436.
Once again, here's Lloyd and Greg.
Hey, I got an announcement here.
Okay, let's hear this announcement.
For all you classic rock fans out there that love it, you put this date on your calendar, the 24th, which is next Saturday.
Next Saturday, okay.
At Mill Creek in Mentone, Itchy Huevos, a classic rock band, will be playing at 9 p.m. Okay. And they're fantastic. You get the songs of the 50s, 60s, 70s,
Oh, wow.
you name it. They do a great job. So I told them I'd throw that in there.
Okay, good.
Paul, as a freshman congressman, when you get elected, I'll say,
Yeah, right.
what power do they have? They don't have much.
So wonderful question. Thanks for bringing this up. Look, as a freshman member of Congress, first off, if you're in the minority party, as my opponent is, you're not gonna get a single bill through Congress. There's nothing he can do here for the Inland Empire. Myself, as a Republican, look, the Republicans are going to hold the House and Congress for at least in through this decade, just looking at how the numbers are looking with redistricting, et cetera. That's what smart money says. B, I think we're going to have a Republican president, which is how train wrecked this country is. So what I want the Inland Empire to understand is, as a freshman member of Congress, when I'm elected in 2016, we will have a Republican president, Republican Senate, Republican Congress. And because of my background and the respect that I have for members of Congress today, I think we'll be able to bring forward many, many great ideas, including one which I can't quite reveal yet on your radio program, but it's coming out very shortly. I think will be a major positive impact, not just for San Bernardino, but the entire Inland Empire. And I'm confident that I can get this through in Congress. It will be, I think, a ground shaker for jobs, for safety, for prosperity, for everything that we need to make the Inland Empire great again.
Well, good. That
Good.
sounds
That sounds
good.
really good. That sounds.
It's, Greg and I had a dealing with Congressman Miller, I guess,
Yeah,
some
we
time
did.
ago. We presented a potential major case with a doctor who wanted to, he wanted to talk about malpractice and
Right.
Medicare fraud.
And all that.
And they were
expose
very
it.
interested in the beginning, but then he dropped it like a lead balloon. I couldn't believe that. Wouldn't
gotta
pursue
call
it any further. If I come to you with something like that, I would hope that you would pursue it.
Pursue it all the way.
I think all options are extremely important here from our local constituents, especially those like yourselves who have practical real-world experience.
Yeah.
That's absolutely essential for us helping to make smart decisions.
I guess we have a call now, don't we? I'll. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. I would like to talk to the to-be maybe congressman,
Yes.
and I want to know how that he's going to be he's a born-again Christian family man, and how does he think that that's going to go through?
Hey, this is Paul, your hopeful future congressional member elected in 2016. I appreciate the question. Look, I believe that strong family values, moral values, are essential to a strong and healthy community. It's the backbone of all that we represent. I tell people of all sides of the aisle that the common denominator that we all share should be one single focus, and that is what kind of community do we want to see children raised in? And to me, those strong family values are essential. We will have reduced crime on our streets. We should have better schools. We should have more prosperity, increased jobs. All those things happen. And when children are raised in a good, strong environment, their chances of success are so much better. And it just so happens that I am a Christian. And
I agree with you. I'm a Christian, but you know what? I'm watching everybody that's a Christian get knocked off the board.
Well, so be it. I think we need to stand and fight for our values. We need to not be afraid of our values and communicate those values. Let me give you an idea. We are working heavily here in the inner cities of San Bernardino, Rialto, Colton, with devastated gang communities, working with the African-American Latino churches. We're going to continue to do that. They share our values. The problem is my party has done a poor job of reaching out to those communities to discuss our values. And you're invited. Everybody here is invited. Saturday, November 14th, 9 a.m., Assembly of God Church in Rialto. We are holding a prayer breakfast, 9 a.m., with faith leaders from all across the region. It is a free breakfast, prayer breakfast, where you will see many different nationalities there, religions coming together to pray for this race, for this Inland Empire. And we are not going to back down from our values. In fact, we're going to stand louder and stronger on why they are so critical to revitalizing not just the Inland Empire, but our entire nation. We will be better off so.
It sounds great to me. Everything you've said so far, I mostly agree with, and I love hearing this. It's just that I know that everybody gets knocked down. And in this nation today, I can see why, but I am praying that we do get out of this, because that our children are suffering, very much so.
They are, and from one Christian to another, look, this is in God's hands. Who are we to say where we're going to be tomorrow? All I know is I'm on this path, and until I'm deviated somewhere else, I'll stay the course. But I'm not backing down from values and morals, and neither should you or anybody else listening. In fact, we got to be louder on them, because America needs them, and our country will be better off doing so.
Okay, sounds great, and we will do our very, very, very best to be there on the 4th. That's my sister's birthday.
14th, November 14th.
Oh, the 14th. Okay, we'll be there on the 14th if we possibly can.
Yep, and if you go to my website, you'll see the invite at voteforavet.com. You'll see a link at top.
All right, thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
We've got a few minutes left. Do you want to talk about anything that's important?
We just want to encourage the community to stay engaged and involved. We want to encourage them to challenge their local, county, state, federal elected officials. They need to hear from you. Like that lady said, I mean, she sounds a little bit in despair and frustrated, and I feel that, I see that, I understand that. But at the same time, this gives us a unique opportunity. America has been here before. We can look at the radicalization during the 60s and how mistreated our troops were coming home from overseas wars. And we were at a different tipping point. But, we went right back. And Ronald Reagan, through his greatness, brought this country to really being united again, where you had Ronald Reagan Democrats and others joining with Republicans. And I think we have a tremendous opportunity to do that here in 2016. In my congressional race, there are no bones about it. Everybody knows where my values and morals are. And some may say, as political consultants might say, well, Paul, you might want to go more to the middle on some of these things. Well, what does the middle mean? To me, the Democrat Party of today is dead. They are now known as socialist progressive, so far left that if I am looking at somehow trying to appease them, I am already going so far into their neck of the woods that I'm giving away the very values and morals that I stand for. And I'm no better than any other cowardly politician who gives up. And we can't do that. I've got 4 kids at home. Ages 8, 7, 5, and 2. I've got to make sure they've got a stronger nation before them, where our streets are safer, our military is stronger, the world is safer, we are more prosperous. We give them the American promise that they deserve. But the reality is the America that we're handing them today is less of all of those. And that is irresponsible for today's adults. So today's adults that have a role and responsibility in electing the next leaders should look at it through that lens. What kind of community do we want to see children raised in, and do we want to hand them off a stronger or weaker nation? I think we all stand united, regardless of party, wanting to hand them off a greater America.
Well, I'm looking forward to a politician that can't be bought.
That's right, me too. And what I like is no lukewarmness. We have a book that we read that says not to be lukewarm. And so, there's no lukewarmness in you, Paul, I see. And that's what I appreciate about you. Everybody's going to have the same rhetoric and say the same things that people want to hear, but you say what people don't want to hear and what people should hear.
Well, the lobbyists have so much control.
Oh, yeah.
And I can see that because of our dealings, with former politicians.
Yeah.
And I've dealt with them in Nevada, too, when I worked for Treasury,
yeah.
and New Mexico when I was state director there. But politics and that lobby really controls them. They say you can't do this, you can't do that.
It is extremely powerful. Look, I was born poor, raised by 2 single mothers. We lived up in the high desert in an unincorporated area of the county. We lived on a dirt road, no air conditioning, no heating, very little food, no such thing as cable TV or anything. And so I learned at a young age without government assistance, my mom working the best she could to help our family survive. I learned how to survive on my own without getting a handout. And so my belief is, I can't be bought. I've been there. I'm still middle, lower class today with my wife and I trying to raise 4 kids. I get it. And so, look, I think that we need to put our hands on the table and say the system that we have is broken, that there is major corruption going on across this country with how money can influence cowardly candidates, and the public is turned off by that. So I think we're going to see a revolution in this next cycle to help make America the next America that we all envision, which is strong jobs, safe streets, better economy. Our enemies are no longer conquering territories, and we can live in freedom, true freedom again, without the oppression of people taking away our Second Amendment rights, diminishing our First Amendment rights, really getting back to the basics of what our founders intended.
Yeah, next election, let's hope a whole bunch of you guys come forward just like that, because that's what we need.
That's a unique, that's what everybody hopes for.
Sure.
But as I say, we don't have a very intelligent voting base.
No, we don't. That's the problem. We don't have sophistication there.
Ask these people, and they don't
or
care.
Any knowledge either. There's no knowledge.
I've got. My daughter says, I said, "Did you read that in the newspaper?" She said, "No, I don't read the newspapers. Too, negative." And I said, "You watch the news?" "No, I don't watch the news. It's too negative. It's gonna affect." I said, "How are you gonna keep track of what's happening in the world? You're going to leave it to me?" Yeah, she said, Dad, you take care of it.
You're it, huh?
That's it.
Well, here we are.
But for my for
Doing
my
our
kids,
little part.
my grandkids, my great grandkids,
Sure.
I want a better future for them.
I do too. Absolutely.
And you gotta start at home.
That's it. That is the bottom line. We need that strong family nucleus, and that is critical.
It's essential.
I appreciate you coming on our program, Paul.
Love doing it. God bless you and your
good luck.
listeners.
Please. Thank you, Paul.
You're
God
welcome.
bless you too.
When you're singled out and alright, well, it filters through.
This is 1050 AM KCAA Loma Linda and 106.5 FM Yucaipa.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Playoff baseball, both in the National League and in the American League, of course, and college football scores. I'm Kate Delaney. Quickly, let's tell you this. 4:07 first pitch in the East. Giordano Ventura on the hill for KC. Taking on David Price, Cy Young